Exactly 9 years ago this month, Jessica Buchanan, a humanitarian aid worker, was kidnapped and held captive. At the time, she was on a mission with a Danish charity helping kids in Somalia when her car was ambushed.
We were apprehended at gunpoint. Our car was taken over, driven out into the desert.
Here's Buchanan and her coworker Paul Fisted in a proof-of-life video recorded by their captors.
93 days. That's how long Jessica Buchanan survived in the hands of Somali pirates, not knowing if she'd ever see home again. Held captive in the scorching desert, starving, and watching her health deteriorate with each passing hour, Jessica faced a nightmare that would break most people. But what she didn't know was those thousands of miles away, the most elite fighting force in the world was planning something extraordinary. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We explore the most incredible survival stories and the heroes who risk everything to bring people home. Jessica Buchanan wasn't just another victim. She was a dedicated humanitarian worker who had traveled to one of the most dangerous places on Earth to help clear landmines and save lives. Her mission was simple: make Somalia safer for its people. But on October 25, 2011, her world turned upside down when armed pirates seized her during what should have been a routine project. This story takes us to Adado, Somalia, a lawless region where piracy thrives and humanitarian workers become high-value targets. What happened next would become one of the most daring rescue operations in modern military history, involving Navy SEAL Team 6 and a race against time that would determine whether Jessica lived or died. The clock was ticking, and Jessica's captors had no idea what was coming for them. October 25th, 2011 started like any other day for Jessica Buchanan. Working alongside her Danish colleague Paul Hagen-Disted on a demoning project with the Danish Refugee Council, Jessica had no idea this would be the day her life changed forever. The two humanitarian workers were traveling through central Somalia when their vehicle was suddenly surrounded by armed men.
We were apprehended at gunpoint. Our car was taken over, driven out into the desert.
Here's Buchanan.
In broad daylight, Somali pirates forced them from their car at gunpoint. There was no negotiation, no warning, just the cold reality that they were now prisoners in one of the world's most dangerous regions. The pirates immediately began making demands. They wanted $1.5 million for Jessica's release, a staggering sum that would fund their criminal operations for months. But as days turned into weeks, the ransom negotiations hit wall after wall. The pirates refused to budge on their demands, while Jessica's family and the international community worked desperately to secure her freedom. Meanwhile, Jessica's nightmare was just beginning. Forced to sleep outdoors in the harsh Somali desert, she endured extreme temperatures, limited food, and constant psychological terror. Her captors showed no mercy. She was their commodity, nothing more. Each day brought new challenges as her physical condition began to deteriorate rapidly. The pirates had no medical supplies, no proper shelter, and no concern for Jessica's well-being. As weeks passed, her health crisis became critical. What started as a kidnapping for money was quickly becoming a race against time, with Jessica's life hanging in the balance. This story takes us to Adado, a strategic town in central Somalia that has become synonymous with lawlessness and danger. Located in the heart of a region torn apart by decades of civil conflict, Adado serves as a crucial hub where various armed groups compete for control. Somalia's collapse into chaos began in the early 1990s, leaving behind a power vacuum that criminal organizations quickly filled. Without a functioning government or reliable law enforcement, regions like Adado became breeding ground for piracy, kidnapping, and armed robbery. The absence of state authority meant that anyone with weapons could operate freely, turning everyday activities into life-threatening risks. By 2011, piracy had evolved from opportunistic coastal raids into a sophisticated criminal enterprise. Armed groups had expanded their operations inland, targeting high-value individuals like foreign aid workers, journalists, and business people. The crime rates in central Somalia were among the highest in the world, with kidnapping becoming a primary source of income for these criminal networks. For humanitarian workers like Jessica, operating in this environment meant accepting extraordinary risks. International organizations knew that sending personnel to places like Adado was dangerous, but the need to help Somalia's suffering population often outweighed security concerns. Aid workers had become prime targets precisely because their organizations and home countries were seen as capable of paying substantial ransoms. This was a hostile territory where Jessica found herself trapped, a place where human life had little value and violence was the primary language of power. Jessica Buchanan had dedicated her life to making the world a safer place. As an experienced education advisor, she specialized in working in some of the planet's most challenging environments, bringing hope to communities devastated by conflict and poverty. Her expertise wasn't gained from behind a desk. Jessica earned it by traveling to war zones and disaster areas where few others dared to go. Her work with the Danish Refugee Council focused on demining operations, the painstaking and dangerous process of locating and removing landmines that continued to kill and maim civilians long after conflicts ended. In Somalia, these hidden weapons were everywhere, turning simple activities like farming or walking to school into potential death sentences for local families. Jessica understood the risks. Every humanitarian worker operating in Somalia knew they were entering a country where foreign aid workers had been kidnapped, killed, or forced to flee. But for Jessica, the mission was bigger than personal safety. She had witnessed firsthand how her work could transform communities, giving children safe paths to school and farmers access to their fields. The demining project she was working on in October 2011 was particularly vital. Each mine removed meant another family could rebuild their lives without fear. Jessica's team had already cleared significant areas, creating safe zones where normal life could slowly return. What made Jessica's commitment even more remarkable was her awareness of the growing threat. Piracy and kidnapping had increased dramatically in the region, with humanitarian workers becoming prime targets. Yet she continued her mission, driven by a belief that helping others was worth the personal risk she faced daily. As Jessica's health reached a critical breaking point, thousands of miles away in the United States, Navy SEAL Team 6 received orders that would change everything. The same elite unit that had taken down Osama bin Laden just months earlier was now tasked with a different kind of mission, a hostage rescue in the heart of Somalia's most dangerous territory. The planning was intense and methodical. Intelligence teams had been tracking Jessica's location for weeks, using satellite surveillance and human intelligence to monitor her captor's movements. The SEALs knew they had one chance. If the mission failed, Jessica would likely be killed immediately, and her captors would disappear deeper into Somalia's lawless interior. On the night of January 25, 2012, the rescue operation began. Under cover of complete darkness, the SEAL team moved silently toward the pirates' camp near Dado. They had trained for scenarios exactly like this, high-stakes hostage rescues where split-second timing meant the difference between life and death. The assault was swift and devastating. Within minutes, the SEALs had neutralized 9 armed pirates who had held Jessica and Powell captive for 93 agonizing days. The pirates, who had grown comfortable in their remote location, never saw the attack coming. Their weapons were useless against the world's most elite fighting force. When Jessica heard American voices calling her name in the darkness, she could barely believe it was real. After months of wondering if she would ever see home again, Navy SEALs were cutting her restraints and telling her she was safe. The woman who had endured starvation, exposure, and constant fear was finally free. The entire operation lasted less than an hour, but it represented months of planning and the culmination of America's commitment to never abandon its citizens. Jessica's rescue marked the beginning of a new chapter, but her journey was far from over. The physical and psychological trauma of 93 days in captivity required extensive recovery time. Yet Jessica's resilience, the same strength that kept her alive in the Somali desert, would define her path forward. Rather than retreating from public life, Jessica chose to transform her experience into a force for good. She became a powerful advocate for hostages and their families, joining organizations like Hostage US and the Navy SEAL Foundation as a board member and ambassador. Her first-hand understanding of captivity's brutal reality gave her a unique voice in supporting others who faced similar ordeals. Jessica's story revealed profound truths about human nature. It shows us that ordinary people can endure extraordinary circumstances when they refuse to surrender hope. Her 93-day survival wasn't just about physical endurance. It was about maintaining her humanity in the face of dehumanizing treatment. The rescue also highlights the incredible dedication of those who serve others. From Jessica's original humanitarian mission to clear landmines, to the Navy SEALs who risked their lives to bring her home, this story demonstrates how far people will go to protect and help others. Perhaps most importantly, Jessica's experience teaches us that survival isn't just about making it through the crisis. It's about what you do with your life afterward. By choosing to help other hostages and military families, Jessica turned her trauma into purpose. What state or country are you watching from? Have you ever witnessed the kind of courage Jessica showed, or known someone who turned their worst experience into their greatest strength? Share your thoughts in the comments below.